Insecure men who hate themselves and won't deal with their trauma are a threat to everyone. This man just tried to unalive an entire plane. Who was an off-duty pilot, was just accused of trying to basically sabotage the engine so that the entire plane crashed. On purpose! This dude did this on purpose. Off-duty pilot. He's charged with, I think, 83 counts of attempted among other things. The only reason why he didn't succeed is the crew realized what he was doing and had to subdue him. This is breaking news, by the way. Since there's not really a lot out on this guy yet, I want to make a couple points and then make a much bigger point. So, I mean, who would imagine that this guy with the little ukulele would do something like that? I'd be willing to bet that his ex-wife or wife or girlfriends or something probably knew something. And I don't say this to make them accountable whatsoever. I say this as men usually practice their terror on their girlfriends and wives. Sometimes their children too. It's usually the women who know these men the most, who realize how dangerous they are. No one ever listens to us. So even if we did warn whoever you warn about this, nobody takes us seriously. Because every time women try to warn people about their crazy ex or their current boyfriend who has made threats and just bought a bunch of pew-pews, or like in Nashville, my hometown, literally building a mom in the backyard, please don't listen. They don't care. They don't stop it. They don't care what these men hurt us. So why would they care about what we have to say about these men? The only time they care at all is when it hurts other people. But even then, don't care enough to actually change policy. And this is so telling right here. God. It's common practice for off-duty pilots to hitch a ride in the jump seat or whatever. They interviewed this dude who is a captain or whatever. And he said he never worried about it. You know, men would never worry about another man doing something like this because men aren't usually living with these men. They don't know these men. These men will emotionally regulate and control their temper and not be insane in front of their male coworkers. We see these men at home. We know what they're capable of. And that's why women need to be in more leadership roles, because women would probably make sure that every single pilot had regular mental health checks. And I would even go as far as to say that pilots, because you are literally in charge of so many lives. People are trusting their lives in your hands. Pilots, train conductors, like all these people, especially pilots, because of the pressure, because of the toll it takes on their physical body. They should always check in with those men's family members. I say men because it's usually men, because it's such a misogynistic world that it's so hard for women to break into that line of work. But men just seem to be so baffled when stuff like this happens. How can this happen? What? He seemed normal to me. Y'all aren't married to these men. You're not sharing a bed with these men. You're not being controlled by these men. I'm going to give you an example in just a minute. Because you see, they scrutinize the pilots, rigorously, whatever. They evaluate them throughout their career, their training, their medical exams, and others. But all the stuff I could find, it doesn't seem like they really regularly evaluate their mental health. They only do it if it's something that seems off. Jet lag. I can't believe that some people do this for a living. They have very strict rules about how long they can be in the air because it is such a high pressure job and physically demanding job. If you add in there a man who is an insecure man, a control freak, and probably has a military background, because a lot of the pilots, most of them come from the military. Do you know how big domestic violence is in the military? It is probably the worst in the military. Maybe the closest next occupation, cop. I'm not saying all pilots are bad. My friend is a pilot, but I am saying that this industry needs more female voices, because I guarantee you this is run by men. The same way the tech world was run entirely by men. And then they're like, oopsies, I guess we need to vet our drivers who are picking up women they don't know and dropping them off at their houses. And then oops, they kidnapped them, or oops, they SA'd them, or oops, they unalived them. Like, men don't understand or don't care or underestimate just how dangerous men are to everybody, but especially women and children. Women understand this. Children even understand this, but they obviously aren't going to make policy. Nobody listens to us. And then these men become a public health threat. Remember when I was hooking up with this dude in Tinder and he was from another country. I forget which one. It was some European country. I can't remember. I've been trying to find it. He said that we got into talking about the pew pew laws, and he said that one of the many, hurdles that a man has to go through, or anyone who wants a pew pew has to go through, is they talk to the family members of that person. Ask them if they're comfortable with one of those in the house. I guarantee you, the only reason I think I'm alive is my abusive ex didn't have one. And if he'd actually had a driver's license or literally anything, he probably would have had one. And there'd probably be a long line of bodies behind him. He preferred this method. Anyway, so because this story just broke, don't have much information, it's really hard to find out anything on that man and his personal life and his family. And this is all just speculation. This is me making a point about why we need to listen to women. God, my life has been in danger so many times, and every single time it's because of men. But let's look at an insecure man who did get away with what that guy almost did. Y'all remember this guy? He flew his plane into the French Alps and unalived 150 people. And shocker, told an ex he would do something to change the whole system, that the world would know his name and remember him by. So afraid of being alone, they won't even unalive themselves without taking us out. It's really funny that he happens to be a marathon runner, because I've been making marathon running content lately. But this actually checks out. A man with a lot of mental health issues, a man who had been on the record, had schmuicidal. Shocker that he ran marathons to deal with all that instead of getting serious help. He took medication and he ran marathons. I don't know how often he ran marathons, but I'm just making a point to connect some dots here, y'all. Men who refuse to do the hard work, refuse to do that really hard, scary work of dealing with all of your trauma and also dealing with your selfishness and entitlement that you get under patriarchy. You are the scariest people on earth, and you hate yourself so much that we pay for it. You pay for it too, but you won't just take yourself out. You take all of us out while you do it. Look at this. This is why it makes me think he ran a lot. This is a different photo, different number. This dude allegedly realized he was having big health problems, that his dream of being, continuing to be a pilot were threatened in terms of long distance flight. They found torn up sick notes showing that he'd been suffering from an illness. That means he should not have even been in the air that day. He was upset about conditions, too little money, fear of losing the contract, and too much pressure. That dude who, that today that I'm talking about, apparently he had been complaining a lot about the job and the conditions and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't end there. What the media did was blame his girlfriend. Because of course, women are responsible for the violent sad boys, as my mutual Abby was talking about just yesterday. Apparently, him and his girlfriend lived together. They were childhood sweethearts. They had met working at Burger King as teenagers. And she became pregnant. Because of his constant demands and desire to be in control, she was trying to move out. It had an on-again, off-again relationship for 7 years. Oh, shocker, insecure man has an affair with a coworker? Shocker, the love of his life he was cheating on for 5 months. And then articles would say crap like this. It is thought that this is what may have tipped him over the edge, led to his plan for men. No. We are not what tips these men over the edge. They are unhinged. And when a woman decides that she's going to center her safety and protect her life and get the fork out of that relationship with this controlling man, what he does after that is not our fault. And yet the media will blame us. In fact, the girlfriend was pregnant with this man's child. Her and her entire family, like her parents, had to leave their hometown because everyone was blaming her. Parents couldn't even go back there. This is what the media was doing. Look, he was always seeking assurance about the way he looked, the way he was viewed by others, insecurity. He even had severe burnout syndrome, but because of privacy laws, they weren't allowed to tell the boss. He'd been treated for schmuicidal tendencies, had been to the doctor 41 times before that crash. 41 doctors, taken 10 days off of sick leave, refusing to take his antidepressant, and shocker, told his ex what to wear, who to talk to, even the length of her skirt. Anyone who has ever dated a violent man knows that this is one of the things they start to do first. He was a control freak of the highest order. He could be very kind and attentive, but had problems with mood swings. Y'all know what I say about men's moods. They do that to control us, have us on eggshells. Another girlfriend said he was tormented and erratic, would wake up screaming, "We're going down!" 2/3 of mass pew-pews are linked to domestic violence. Men practice on us, but no one listens to us or cares.